business associations, trade bodies, chambers of commerce, banks, and professionals. We also have eminent business personalities, startups, entrepreneurs, and other leaders from different sectors of the economy. Also present are senior officers from both direct and indirect taxes of Rajasthan. Before we start with the interactive session, I would humbly request that the questions raised should be brief and to the point, and the speakers may kindly avoid repetition of questions. Also, the questions may kindly be restricted to announcements made in the annual budget 2023. Madam, I seek your permission to begin the interactive session. I invite our first speaker, Mr. Gaurav Roongta, Chairman, Confederation of Indian Industry, Rajasthan, and Managing Director, Man Structurals Private Limited.
Good morning, ma'am. On behalf of CII, I would like to congratulate to a very progressive, balanced and budget for India surging towards the third largest economy of the world. And as MSME is the backbone for the economy, and a lot of stress has been given to MSME in this budget. There were a few points I just wanted to highlight if you could look at them. Ma'am, as announced by the Honorable Prime Minister that there will be guarantee-free loan to MSME up to 2 crores. So they have been struggling but not able to get those loans from banks. So if some kind of clarification or is put up so that they can avail these loans. Also, ma'am, the cases in the facilitation center of Facilitation Council for the MSMEs, the medium industries are not able to file their cases, though the small and micro are able to. So if the act is in full force implemented, that will help us, help the MSMEs. My last point, ma'am, that as Europe and US are struggling with inflation, and we are seeing that there is a lot of migrant labor which is moving towards the villages and the rural. So the MSME is facing a lot of issues with availability of the labor and also the cost. They cannot invest largely on modern technology because it is more capital intensive. So how can MSME be bailed out of this, and some solution can be suggested so that there will be a lot of relief for them for this additional cost? Thank you.
I'm not sure if I've understood the last bit of your question. If workers are moving into the rural areas, are you presuming that all the MSMEs are located only in the urban centers?
No, ma'am. It's not like that, but the ones in the urban are facing this challenge. Definitely, the rural economy is developing. That's the reason they are moving towards the rural employment. But the urban MSMEs are definitely facing a problem of increase in cost and shortage of labor. Especially, ma'am, the skilled ones.
Well, for skilling laborers, there's a lot of provision in the budget. Skilling them even for such skill sets which are required for Industry 4.0. That, of course, per your understanding, MSMEs can't invest in advanced technology, so that's not going to benefit them. But even otherwise, skilling has been happening for the last few years. Unless I understand which are the specific MSMEs in a particular area which have a problem, area meaning area of activity. So I need to get specific, not anecdotal, actually data-driven analysis of that mismatch in labor to MSME. But as regards credit being made available through banks, I have both the Secretary DFS and also revenue here in case anything about the credit which has been expanded. Now we give 2 lakh more in terms of the revamped credit availability for MSMEs. So Vivek, you want to?
Yes. Yeah, with regard to the credit, the data which I have, of last 2 years shows the data which I have with regard to overall growth of credit for scheduled commercial banks for the MSME sector shows that in 2020, 21, total advances were 18.4 lakh crores, and whereas in 21-22 it was 20.45 lakh crores, which shows a year-on-year growth of almost 11%. And even RBI's financial stability report of December 2022 shows that MSME sector, which has suffered, has turned around in 21-22 and sustained this momentum. Maybe you might be talking about some different set of MSMEs. It will be better if we know exact sector, as Madam has pointed out. Similarly, the data which was released by SBI in January 23 shows that almost 14.6 lakh MSME accounts, of which 98.3% accounts were in micro and small enterprises categories were saved from becoming NPA. So, I mean, data shows something else. Maybe you have a specific or particular problem that we can discuss after this.
Sure, ma'am and sir, we will definitely, we have the data point ready, so we'll submit that and can seek your help on that. Thank you.
Our next
I just
question.
wanted to supplement on that question. I think you had made a reference to it, but I'll just for the benefit of others, clarify that in this budget, a sum of 2 lakh crores of additional credit through the Credit Guarantee Trust for micro and small enterprises has been made available. There are 3 features in this announcement. One, the aggregate amount of credit can more than double because the infusion of corpus, currently it's about 1.7 lakh crores under the guaranteed scheme. This will provide for an additional 2 lakh crores, which is more than 100% increase. Secondly, the limit per borrower is being increased from 2 crores to 5 crores. So this will also help with what you mentioned in terms of automation or buying equipment, which small enterprises may require if they are in urban centers. So the limit per enterprise goes from 2 crores to 5 crores. And the third feature is that the guarantee fee, which effectively becomes a borrowing cost to the borrower, is being reduced by an average of financial services. You can send those representations. If you feel that there is an eligible case which the banks are not entertaining, which they should be entertaining. This new dispensation comes into force from 1st April 2023. That's part one. Secondly, there is another announcement, I just want to highlight it, which is on timely payments to MSME, a change in the Income Tax Act, whereby if a buyer of goods or services from an MSME does not make payment within the time stipulated in the MSME Act, then that expense will not be tax deductible until such time as the payment is always actually made. So these are some of the things that have been done. On your point regarding medium industries under the Facilitation Council, I'll request you to take it up with the Ministry of MSME. It has certain implications, but it is for them to really take a call.
Our next question is from Mrs. Neelam Mittal, Vice President, Federation of Rajasthan Trade and Industry, Women's Wing.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Namaskaram. So, ma'am, startup are growing, which is funding, which is also too good. So my question is, ma'am, they sell at low prices and pile up huge losses on which they don't pay taxes, right? They get tax SOP for first few years of their operation, so they don't pay tax. Large corporates with huge profit occur then and set off their profit, which these losses, and they don't pay taxes. So on the other hand, small and medium business entrepreneurs have to bear all expenses, both capital and revenue, to run their operations. Manufacturing is further worse because they cannot compete in price with the startup online guys. They barely get funding unless they have huge collateral. They have to pay taxes even if it is low. So what are the provision? This is my question, ma'am. What are the provision in budget to save such MSME units, guys? Thank you.
Yeah. So I adverted to one major announcement that has been made. That is actually the single biggest intervention. 2 lakh crore is quite a large sum even for the economy of India's size. And again, the rise in the limit from 2 crores to 5 crores. This guaranteed credit, which is available, is not available to startups. It's not available to large industries. It's only available to micro and small enterprises which are registered under the MSME Act, number one. Number two, I don't know whether this is a good or bad thing, and it's an aside, it is not on the budget. I think the era of free capital flowing into loss-making enterprises seems to be coming to an end. So I think that was a temporary era when there was very loose credit policy in foreign countries and where money was chasing these kinds of investments. I think that era is coming to an end, and from now on, I think startups, like other businesses, will have to stand on their own feet in terms of actual good products and profitability rather than just on free capital.
So thank you so much, sir.
One additional point I would like to make, because there are so many, MSMEs present over here and a number of questions being asked on MSMEs. Another major announcement with respect to taxation for MSMEs relates to increasing the limit for presumptive taxation, the turnover limit from rupees 2 crore to rupees 3 crore. 6% and 8% depending on whether you are using digital means of payment or not. And this additional increase from 2 crore to 3 crore will be applicable for those MSMEs if they are using digital means of payment. So this is another additional measure. Other than that, we have also increased the limit of presumptive taxation from rupees 50 lakh to rupees 75 lakh for the professionals who are having this turnover. So these are again two announcements related to MSMEs. Thank you.
Mr. K.L. Jain, President, Rajasthan Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
आदरणीय वित्त मंत्री महोदय, आपका राजस्थान में स्वागत और अभिनंदन। आप हिंदी बहुत अच्छा बोलते हैं, हिंदी समझते भी हैं, इसलिए मैं आपको हिंदी में अपनी अर्ज करना चाहूँगा। राजस्थान चैम्बर ऑफ कॉमर्स कभी सुझाव नहीं देती, केवल निवेदन करती है, और इस संदर्भ में निवेदन है जीएसटी का, चूँकि कलेक्शन बराबर बढ़ता जा रहा है, अब समय है कि हम इन 4 स्लैब्स को घटाकर 2 स्लैब करें, वो ज़्यादा अच्छा होगा। 5, 18 और जो मादक पदार्थ हैं उनको 40% में आप ले जाएं, तो उससे होने वाले अगर कुछ घाटा होता हो तो भरपाई हो जाएगी। दूसरा निवेदन ये है, जीएसटी का रजिस्ट्रेशन, जैसे पैन सारे हिंदुस्तान में एक जगह चलता है, रजिस्ट्रेशन भी अगर 6 जगह मैं काम करता हूँ, रजिस्ट्रेशन मेरा एक ही जगह हो, और डिजिटलाइजेशन के बढ़ते हुए युग में इसकी प्रोसेसिंग एक सेंट्रल प्रोसेसिंग इनकम टैक्स की तरह से हो, वो संभव हो तो करना चाहिए। मैं इनकम टैक्स से संबंधित निवेदन करना चाहूँगा कि नया रिजीम और पुराना रिजीम 2 है। सुपर रिच भी हैं और सुपर सीनियर भी हैं। सुपर सीनियर्स को जो 80 से भी ऊपर बढ़ गए हैं, उनको 5 लाख की जगह अगर 7 लाख की छूट दी जाए तो उनका बुढ़ापा अच्छी तरह से कटेगा, ऐसा हमारा निवेदन है। साथ ही निवेदन है, उसी सीनियर सिटीजन के लिए जिनके पास मकान तो हैं 5 करोड़ के, 7 करोड़ के, 8 करोड़ के, लेकिन लिक्विडिटी उनके पास मंथली गुजारे के नहीं है। रिवर्स मॉर्गेज स्कीम अगर आप इंट्रोड्यूस करें और बैंक 70 से 80% मेरी मार्केट वैल्यू का अगर मुझे एक मुश्त या इंस्टॉलमेंट में दें तो मेरा जीवन यापन दंपत्ति का अच्छी तरह से संभल पाएगा। और हम दोनों की मृत्यु के बाद हमारा हेयर जो है या तो पैसे चुका देगा या बैंक उस पर कब्जा कर ले, ऐसा हमारा निवेदन है। दूसरा निवेदन हम आपसे यही करना चाहेंगे कि आपने जो बजट प्रस्तुत किया है, गांव के आखिरी अंचल तक रहने वाले व्यक्ति का आपने ख्याल रखा है और जितना आप बजट की तारीफ की जाए उतनी कम है। एमएसएमई क्षेत्र को भी 9,000 करोड़ रुपए का नई गारंटी स्कीम आपने दी है। मैं समझता हूँ उससे लोन सस्ता होगा और एमएसएमई का काम राजस्थान में अधिकतर करीब 80% से 85% तक एमएसएमई सेक्टर ही है और आपने उसका ख्याल रखा है, उसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत साधुवाद। बजट जो आपने प्रस्तुत किया है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने कहा सबका साथ, सबका विश्वास, सबका विकास, उसको आपने चरितार्थ किया है। आपको बहुत बहुत साधुवाद। और ये बजट 2047 में भारत विश्व गुरु बनेगा, उसकी पहल आपने की है। सभी क्षेत्रों का, गांव का, गरीब का, किसान का, उद्योग का, वाणिज्य का, निर्यात का, सबका आपने ख्याल रखा है। ऐसा बजट प्रस्तुत आपने जो किया है उसके लिए आपकी जितनी बुरी बुरी प्रशंसा की जाए वो कम है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
साहब, आपने जो रजिस्ट्रेशन, सिंगल रजिस्ट्रेशन के लिए जो बात आपने की है, जो निवेदन आपने किया है कि एक ही जीएसटी का रजिस्ट्रेशन भिन्न भिन्न प्रांतों में भी हो जाए, तो आपको मालूम है कि जो जीएसटी है वो यहाँ पे सीजीएसटी केंद्रीय जीएसटी भी है, वहीं पे स्टेट जीएसटी भी है। तो ये सभी राज्यों में अलग अलग जीएसटी लगता है और एक व्यापारी या एक कारोबारी यदि भिन्न राज्यों में कर रहा है तो वहाँ पे सभी पे उसका रजिस्ट्रेशन होना आवश्यक है। इसमें कोई दो राय वाली बात नहीं है। शायद आपका सुझाव ये है कि एक ही एप्लीकेशन से वो भिन्न भिन्न स्टेट्स में एक साथ रजिस्ट्रेशन हो जाए। ये आपका अच्छा सुझाव है, इसके ऊपर हम लोग गौर कर रहे हैं, वो हम करेंगे। लेकिन रजिस्ट्रेशन उसको मल्टीपल स्टेट्स में ही लेना पड़ेगा ताकि ये मालूम रहे कि किस स्टेट में वो राजस्व कारोबार कर रहा है और किस स्टेट में उसको राजस्व, किस स्टेट को राजस्व की प्राप्ति होनी चाहिए।
इसमें साहब चेष्टा करना शुरू करें तो मेरे ख्याल से साल 2 साल में संभव हो पाएगा, ऐसा हमारा मानना है। दूसरा एक निवेदन करना चाहे, फ्यूल को अब जीएसटी रिजीम में आप ले आए साहब, तो मेरे ख्याल से ये बड़ा होगा और स्टेट्स को भी कोई बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान इसमें होने वाला नहीं है। लेकिन एक रूपता आ जाएगी, पेट्रोल, डीजल और जितना ये मेरे ख्याल से जीएसटी में आना श्रेयस्कर होगा, यही बात है। अभी आपने जीएसटी में कुछ चीज़ों के ऊपर आपने रियायत किया, शार्पनर पर, पेंसिल्स के ऊपर। मेरे ख्याल से इन छोटी छोटी चीज़ों का एजुकेशन से संबंधित जितने टूल्स हैं, मेरे ख्याल से वो जीएसटी से उसको राहत मिलनी चाहिए, तभी तो इंडिया बढ़ेगा, तो आगे बढ़ेगा।
I now invite Mr. Mukesh Agarwal, General Secretary, Hotel Association of Jaipur and Vice President of Rajasthan Federation of Hotels.
Thank you, ma'am. My suggestion is related to the tourism sector. It's a big tool to country and state economy. Tourism is a big tool to the country and the state economy. One suggestion which I want to put before you is non-allowance of input to the business travelers for the other state. It's a big problem nowadays. If I travel to the other state and if I want to take input of that, it's not allowed because IGST is applicable and the hotels don't charge IGST, they charge only state tax. GST input should be allowed to the renovation of the hotels. It is a matter of dispute before the authorities. Many times it should be allowed because to renovate the hotel, GST should be on GST should be allowed. My submission to the you to tourism sector, the air connectivity you to the small cities should be allowed. We don't have connectivity to the air with the Agra also, which is a dire need of this day. Subsidy should be given to the by the central government to the state, to the financial institutions which give loan to the hotel industry. This is my suggestions. Thank you very much.
Mr. Surendra Singh.
Just a minute, ma'am. The first point that you raised was related to the input tax credit on hotel stays. So you are aware that, first of all, the place of supply for a hotel accommodation is the location of the hotel. And so that's why you are unable to get the GST credit, because the service is actually consumed in another state while you are perhaps you are doing business in perhaps some other state. The remedy for this, so if you are buying it over there then and through the hotel located in another state, you will not get the IGST, and so you will not get the GST credit. But if you were to buy it through a travel agent or a tour operator, who's again a registered dealer, then he can certainly claim IGST. He can certainly be paid on IGST basis, for whom this benefit of ITC shall be available. So that can be a way means to this issue of ITC on hotel stays and others. Not only hotel stays, it could also be a local travel in a different state. So that also can be availed. Second issue you have raised is related to input on the goods bought, input tax credit for the GST paid on goods bought for renovation. This issue has not come to us. You have said that it is under dispute. We will get it examined and we'll see if clarity can be provided on this. Thank you.
Mr. Surendra Singh, Member, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry.
Good morning, ma'am, and Khamagani to everyone. Ma'am, I represent the Heritage Hotels of Rajasthan. Heritage Hotels of Rajasthan are 75% inbound business oriented. Inbound business oriented means mostly based on the foreign traffic. We've got around more than 200 operating hotels in Rajasthan. We have membership of around 700 hotels all over India, but the operation is around 200 hotels which are already operating in Rajasthan. Madam, my request is for the banking sector. I would like to start from the ECGL 1 to ECGL 4. Madam, when this ECGL was dispersed way back in May 2020, the repo rate was 4%. Now this has gone to 6.5%. My humble request to this sector is that the restructuring be done in such a way that the borrower load is reduced. I would request here that the repayment tenure of these ECGL be put to 84 months. Previously it was 48 months, then gradually it was increased to 60 months. I would request here that this tenure be increased for 84 months, as the EMI of these loans have also been revised at a higher level. My second question is my request is for the restructuring of loans. Ma'am, the restructuring which was introduced, however, most of the banks and NBFCs somehow restricted these 10 years to 12 months. It's a humble request that we heritage hotel owners who are mostly in the rural areas, our economics as far as the revenue is concerned is totally different from the city hotels and the big hotel chains. We are 75% dependent on the foreign clients, which will not bounce back if everything goes smooth, which will not bounce back before October 2024. After the COVID, we faced the Russia-Ukraine problem, and till today in Rajasthan, we are not getting more than 20% of the inbound tourists. I would request here that all those applications which have been given for restructuring to the NBFCs and banks should be taken up for 24 months. We have applied, but mostly the applications have been reduced to 6 months, 1 year, and they have been rejected by the NBFCs and banks. So this is my humble request, which will keep us away from getting NPA and the threat of getting the property seized. Because again, I would tell you that these heritage hotels are not being made, they are built heritage. We have inherited it and we have tried to make a living out of it, especially the employment also in the heritage properties are of the local people near the town, villages. Most of these heritage hotels are situated in the rural areas. So that's my humble request as far as the banking concerned. On GST, ma'am, I would like to point over here regarding standalone restaurants. We have standalone restaurants which are paying 5% tax. Now, whether that restaurant is on a highway or in a city mall, both are different. In a restaurant in a city mall is paying rent and charging 5%. No input is allowed. I would request if an option could be given to take either 5% or 12% and the input credit is given. If this is possible, it will help us a lot. Since most of the hotels are under the micro, small and medium sector and are a major tax revenue, employment generator, I request that the GST for charging 5,000 room rent tariff be reduced to 5%. GST on food sale in hotels to be reduced to 12% from 18%. Ma'am, 18% is very high. So I would request these following things. My friend has already spoken about giving the credit to these MICE and conferences which are happening in other states, which the input is not available here. I think it's over. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Largely you're speaking on GST related issues. So even if you tell me here, I will still have to go to the council where all the state finance ministers are seated. So it has to go through that route only. It's all right, I'll hear you, you can give me the representation, I'll take it. And I'll also send it for the Fitment committee to have a look at it, but eventually the decision is for the GST council. So let that be put in context.
Our request for the banking sector, madam, that's very important.
Huh?
The banking sector, the restructuring.
So that's all right. That was one
ECG,
part of your 7 or 8 issues.
Yeah.
That's fine. You'll still have the Secretary Financial Sector respond to it. But the other issues are being given to me for me to take it to the council. I'm not going to be able to respond on any of them because it is for the council to take a call, and council is not one member. It's all state finance ministers.
Thank you.
With regard to your repo rate increase, that's in the hand of RBI, and government doesn't play any role into it. ECGLS, you talked about ECGLS. You see, this was an emergency credit line guarantee scheme. It was launched in 2020 to overcome the effect of COVID on various sectors, especially the MSME. So, but with regard to your restructuring of loan from 10 months to 24 months by NBFCs and banks, I think that I'm not really aware about a particular problem in tourism sector, but I will go and check and see what help can be granted to you. But I think you have missed one point. With regard to tourism sector, the announcements made in the budget as a whole, I'm sure that will also help you in the heritage running of your heritage hotels. This Dekho Apna Desh scheme and integrated development of theme-based tourist circuits such as Swadesh Darshan scheme and tourism infrastructure and amenities program under our vibrant village programs, that was also announced, and announcement was made with regard to unity malls to be developed by each states. That will certainly going to help the tourism sector, and I think will also help the heritage hotels also. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? So you did make the point that interest rates have gone up in the last 2 years, etc. But I just want you to take a holistic, a full picture view of this. In 2020, when the emergency credit line guarantee scheme was introduced, there was a natural impact, very big impact on the tourism flows, movement of people, etc. But in the last 2 years, you can also let us know whether the occupancy rates have stayed the same or not. So revenues have come back, tourists have started coming back. So some costs would necessarily go up as well. The cost of interest rate would, cost of credit will go up when there is more people requiring or demanding credit. So there is both an upside when the recovery happens, and there is also some cost like interest rates will go up. We have to take a holistic view of the situation. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that dimension may not be a solace for you, but interest rate is something on which it's like that, what you call tarazu. You know, when it comes down, it suits you for taking loans. But at that same time, I've had senior citizens and also middle class telling me all their deposits earn nothing because the rates were so low. And at that time, I had no answers to give them. In a sense, you can go about giving some kind of a interest subvention for senior citizens because the rate is so low, you will get a bit more because you're living off the interest. All right. And they said, unless the interest goes up, we won't get anything from it. Now, when the interest goes up, naturally, and I'm not blaming you, naturally you feel, oh, the loans that I take are becoming more expensive. There's always this factor this way and that way. This is also the case when perishable products come to the market and they're very high because either the supplies are low because Ola, Brishti or something happens. So the farmers get nothing out of it, they've lost the crop. But when prices go up, the consumers feel, oh my God, edible products are all becoming so expensive. But when it is expensive, the farmer doesn't get the return. Even they, the farmer versus the consumer. These are all market forces which work to an extent, and somewhat there are possibilities of government intervention where it is possible. And we would keep an open mind to help out. But this is going to be and it's always been, it's not as if it's new now. That's always been the balancing act which we'll have to look at.
Humble request to everyone, if the speakers could be the questions could be a little brief, then we could be able to cover more ground. Thank you. Now our next speaker is Mr. Dhirendra Madan, President, Confederation of Real Estate Developers Associations of India.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ma'am, and all the dignitaries on the stage. I wanted to say that the infra status to the affordable housing. Affordable housing has been accorded infra status and is included in the harmonized list of infra sectors. The expectation was that the affordable housing sector would get access to long-term, low-cost financing in line with the infrastructure sector. Unfortunately, the banking sector does not seem to be supportive of this larger intent of government. Affordable housing sector is clubbed with the real estate sector and are not accorded priority sector lending status. There need to be a mechanism to ensure targets for developer finance under affordable housing at a bank level and a state level is spelled out and performance data is monitored in a transparent manner. Second point I wanted to raise that the CLSS for LIG and MIG may be introduced to encourage low and middle income home buyers to invest in the property. And एक बात और मैं कहना चाहूँगा मैम कि सरकार की बाध्यता होती है डेवलपर को अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग बनाने पड़ते हैं, लेकिन अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग बनाने के बाद अगर हम 10 फाइल बैंक में लगाते हैं तो सिर्फ 2 जनों को ही लोन मिल पाता है। नेशनल बैंक जो है, नेशनलाइज बैंक इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेते उन गरीबों के लिए, और हमें मजबूरन प्राइवेट और कुछ NBFCs के पास जाके उनके लोन कराने पड़ते हैं जो उन्हें हायर इंटरेस्ट रेट पे मिलते हैं। तो मेरा ये निवेदन है कि इस तरफ ध्यान दिया जाए और नेशनलाइज बैंक को भी कहा जाए कि वो उन्हें लोन प्रोवाइड करें, क्योंकि हमारा एक ह्यूज इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है, क्योंकि ये बाध्यता है हमारे ऊपर कि हमें अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग उनके लिए बनानी है। तो वो हमारे जो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स हैं वो उस पर इंटरेस्ट हमें लगता है और हम कॉस्ट प्राइस पे ही वो बेच पाते हैं, क्योंकि सरकार की एक उसमें लिमिटेशन है और प्राइस बैंड है, उस प्राइस पे ही हमें बेचने होते हैं। अगर वो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग हमसे नहीं बिक पा रही है क्योंकि इधर रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट हाई हो गया है और उधर CLSS उनको नहीं मिल पा रहा है, तो मेरा आपसे नम्र निवेदन है कि कृपया इस ओर ध्यान दें और CLSS को दोबारा शुरू करें। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
Mrs. Manju Sharma, Director, Eternal Multi-Speciality Hospital and MD, Eternal Heart Care Center and Research Institute.
Good morning, madam. Actually, I'm a US citizen and I'm living here for last more than 14 years. And there are some observations for healthcare system. If I see the medical tourism, there are 3 targets which I observed. One is Make in India. And believe me, it is really coming very handy. And people, they are really getting all the help from the healthcare system to get the treatment. An example is like Merrill, if I say, they develop all kinds of stents, valves and everything, and which is very expensive therapy, in fact, if we see. And Make in India, and it is working out very well for our own affordable community, I would say, which is, the first target. We are achieving it. But second thing is our national tourism. What is happening, what I observed in this 10 years is the lack of availability of best technologies, procedures, implants, everything, which is kind of not available here now. What is happening, affordable community, they are getting treatment in hospital, but people, those who can afford better ones, they are going out of India, neighboring countries, and we are missing out that finances, I would say, our economy going out of India, which we can protect it actually. We should keep safe our own medical tourism finances, Third thing is the traveling, which is international tourism, which is very connected to hospitality also. When they come here, if first target, which is our Make in India, second, availability of all kinds of procedures, implants, equipments, these 2, if they are taken care, our international tourism, they will have extreme big spectrum of low-cost treatment and high-end treatment, which we can give it to them very well. And that will bring the international medical tourism to India. So these 3 targets, first is already taken care. Second, we can fix it by bringing all kind of technology with policies of India government, and we can handle it. So when first 2 are taken care, third will be automatically taken care. And that's what is my observation. If we can do something, we don't want to lose our medical tourism. We are going for India best, third globally rich country, and I don't want to lose this healthcare sector also to be the best top 3 in world. Thank you.
Now I invite Mr. Sanjay Agarwal, Chairman, AU Small Finance Bank Limited.
Namaskar, ma'am. Namaskar to everybody on the desk. Welcome to City of AU, ma'am. And I'm representing AU Small Finance Bank as a CEO. So my question and first of all, my observation is this, that ma'am, the amazing adherence to last year budget, and what we saw, what we promised last year was
how would you think that the government can help, the central government can help with this?